Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Shit's Hard. I'm your host, Amber, and today we are talking careers. I do want to say right off the bat, there's construction next door, so sorry if that noise picks up. I swear to God, they were not doing any until I sat down and to record, and of course then it starts, and I was like, fuck. But oh well, they're doing their thing. I'm doing mine, so it's okay. Maybe I'll try to pause it if they get started. But we'll see. But we're going to be talking about, it's kind of going to be like an update episode from my first episode, which was basically called Passion. And it was kind of about moving out here from Ohio and what that was like. Right now I'm 7 months in to quitting my job in Ohio and moving to LA. So I'll just kind of go over how I'm feeling now about that. And then we're also going to go over how to figure out what careers for you and more importantly, what's not. And also the beauty of quitting, because that's so important. It's a very, very beautiful thing, and quitters should be celebrated. So let's get into it. I made myself a little latte for this episode, so. Okay. So, careers. What I've learned about myself in the last 7 months, and just kind of where I'm at now in my career. So if any of you have been listening to the podcast for a minute now, or if you just know me personally, you would know I studied architecture in college. I just graduated last May. I had an internship at a firm, and it just wasn't for me. Just working in the real world just kind of taught me I don't think this is where I want to spend the rest of my life. But it was a really great firm. The people were really cool. I just kind of realized architecture wasn't it for me. It wasn't doing it. And so I had kind of quit my job, and I've really gotten into social media a little bit more. Ever since coming out to LA, I've done a few things since I've been out here. I've been an assistant to an influencer. I've got to go to some pretty cool events with her. And outside of that, I've gotten a little bit more into the fitness aspect, the fitness industry, if you will. And I've worked at 2 gyms since I've been out here. I just got my ACE CPT, my certification for personal training. So I feel like, yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. I've dabbled a little bit, and I like it all. I like the gym area. I like fitness industry, but I also like social media as well. I think what I've learned about myself and how I've been out here is I'm really interested in the connection of physical and mental health and how those things go together. And how really one does not do well without the other. You know, even if you're in the best shape of your life, if you're not doing well mentally, it's really not healthy. But yeah, I've learned a ton out here. Even the social media stuff that I've gotten to do was pretty cool. I really haven't worked with her in a while, so I don't know if I'll still be doing that. But even still, I'm grateful for my time spent with her. I got to go to some pretty cool events, meet some cool people. But more importantly, I learned a lot of the behind the scenes type of stuff with being a TikTok influencer and, what is filming like and what's it like to have to throw something out there at least once a day. And the cool perks that come with it as well. Certainly a ton of perks. I got perks being her assistant. I went to a few cool events. I got to meet Scarlett Johansson. I got to go to her release event for her beauty brand or her skincare brand. And then I got to go to a Prada event, and I got some free Prada merch or whatever. And I got to go to the Streamies, so that was pretty cool. And I've just learned a ton about what is it actually like to be in this industry? What is it like for that to be your career? I think a big issue with that being your career is mental health. Which is why I'm even more so concerned with it, because I think in that kind of job, you really have to prioritize your mental health. And the person that I was working with, I felt did a good job of that and was very, kind of strict upon, you know what, today isn't the day. I need to take a rest day. I need to take the day off, but it's not a 40-hour work week. When you're an influencer, you're pretty much always working. And it sucks because I know, being with her, meeting her, and kind of getting to know her better. Every time, even if you're on a vacation, you're also seeing it as this could be content. This would be good content, and people would want to see this, and I could make money off of it. But on the other half, you do just want to relax and enjoy your time on your vacation. But then you're thinking like, oh, I'm doing nothing. Like, it's not a 40-hour work week. It's like you're always working. And it's like you feel guilty. I noticed she often felt guilty for like taking a day off, or maybe not felt guilty. I think she was good about trying to balance the two. But I think it's hard to not feel guilty because everything's on you. You know, every decision is on you. So you feel like, well, if I just worked every single day and never took a day off, my career would be amazing. But it's like your mental health wouldn't. So I don't know. It's all connected. But anyways, I've learned a lot about both those things. And I think right now I'm kind of discovering like, where do I fall in the middle? I'm definitely interested in social media, and I like how people can connect. We can connect through social media, and you can just connect with so many people who you've never even met in person. And it obviously has its pros and cons, but I think there's a lot of benefits to social media. I think that I use social media sometimes on the negative side because I waste like fucking 4 hours scrolling TikTok. But on the other side of that, I do use TikTok for more positive reasons, such as like I'm 22 and nobody ever taught me how to fucking, I don't know, like clean your dishwasher. So like I can just get on TikTok and look up clean your dishwasher. Or I'm really into cooking. I love looking at recipes on TikTok. If you're like getting into fitness, there's a ton of fitness influencers who I think are positively spreading a more fitness message with like, you know, how to get started in the gym. Gym anxiety is not something that everybody used to talk about. So I don't know. I think it's a cool place, and I think there's a lot of good stuff that can happen there. And of course, there's always going to be bad, but that's kind of like the real world too, you know? So, but like as far as careers go, I want to talk about like, how did I get here? Which is not very far, mind you. Part of me wanted to make this podcast because this is like a progress podcast. I know I'm going to be successful one day, and I know that I'm going to look back on this podcast and be like, oh my God, look where I was. And it's all recorded. It's all like, it's all documented there, and I can revert back to it. And I also wanted to make like a progress podcast for also other people who are feeling this way as well. So if you're also feeling a little bit like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. I don't know. I feel like I don't want to watch somebody who's already done it, who's already in their dream career, who's 50 and successful. I don't want to listen to them be like, this is what I did. Although I do think like we can of course learn from other people who have done what we would like to do. Nobody shows the in-between, and sometimes the in-between is long. Sometimes this is a long road in between realizing, hey, I want to have a career that I love, and I need to figure out what it is, and I'm successful and I'm happy and I do a job that I love every day and I make money off of it. That could be a really big gap between those two things. I have no idea how big my gap is going to be, but I hope it's small. But I think it's also important to enjoy the journey. Like I said, I'm always trying to positively affirm myself. I will be successful. I know that. But it's not going to happen overnight. It might not even happen next year. It might not even happen in the next 2 or 3 years. But this is all progress along the journey. And right now, it's only been a few months. I would argue that I probably haven't even really been actively working on this for more than a year. I'm farther than I've ever been before. I'm closer than I've ever been before. So, I don't know. And you want to enjoy the journey, you know? Like, of course, right now, like, you know, I'm a little tight on cash, and I'm also a little bit like, is this actually what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? Is this my calling? Do I love this? Am I good at this? Am I helpful at this? Is this podcast helpful to people or not? I don't know. I hope so. I don't fucking know. I like to think it is. But this is the progress. This is the process, and we're just on the journey, and we have to enjoy the journey because, you know, I don't want to get in that mindset of I'll be happy when. You know, because you just gotta be happy now, and hopefully other shit happens along the way. Yeah, so how did I get here? How did I come to the decision to quit my job in Ohio and move across the country when I also had barely any scratch of an idea of what I wanted to do? I think, you know how people say, like, follow your heart or whatever. I think I'm actually starting to understand what that means. And I think it means start making decisions and follow what you like and quit what you don't. It's kind of the same thing as like spend time with people and things that serve you, and start to, erase and remove the things from your life that don't serve you. And I think that's really what the whole follow your dream, I mean, it sounds so like cheesy when I say it. But I think more so than like follow your dreams, you should be quitting things that don't serve you. And that's how you do that. Because I don't know, ever since I've been out here, I feel like I cannot figure out what the fuck I like. But I could sure as shit tell you what I don't like. So I don't know. Quitting is a very beautiful thing. And I think it should be celebrated more, because life is very short. And I'm only 22, but mine could be taken from me tomorrow. And so I just think it's important that I don't spend time doing things that I know I don't like. And it's not helping anybody either. And that was pretty much how I came to the conclusion in Ohio. Okay, I need to quit my job and I need to leave, because I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't fulfilling me. And it wasn't helping anybody either. It doesn't help anybody in my life to do a job that I don't fucking like, And people in my life who love me and care about me, they want to see me happy. They do. So it was very much like, there's no point in this. There's no reason for me to be doing this, other than, fear of embarrassment for quitting something and leaving something and maybe failing at the next thing. But quitting is very beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. And I would encourage you to do it, because I think if you're not all into something, there's just no purpose. There's no reason for it. I think if you and now I'm not saying like, oh, if you really care about something and you love something, but it's hard, quit. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if you're genuinely like, I just don't really like this. I don't want to go to work today. I don't want to talk to those people. I work with a bunch of selfish people, or whatever it may be. I feel like I'm not helping anybody. I feel like my job has no purpose. I mean, when I was working in architecture, I wasn't feeling very fulfilled. I think that I like a more one-on-one connection with people. And when I was working on drawings and CAD, I didn't have that connection to someone where I could feel like I was being helpful. I couldn't really see why my job was helpful. That's not to say that it wasn't. Architects. I said architectures. Architects are obviously helpful people who obviously contribute to society. They're building our buildings and making sure that they're safe and don't fall on people. But for me, I don't know, it wasn't filling my cup. I wasn't feeling like I felt like I could do more maybe, or just something else. I wanted to help people in a different way. I feel like down at the very bottom of us, everyone just wants to help people. And whatever your career is really just your means to do that. And that wasn't my means. That wasn't the way in which I wanted to help people. But an interesting thing that I learned in therapy that I want to talk about, my therapist had taught me this when I was having anxious thoughts and whatever, is she would ask me, once I would be like, this is stressing me out, I'm freaking out. She would say, what is the worst case scenario? And I was like, I don't want to think about that. Like, obviously that question threw me off. And I was almost like irritated with her. I was like, I just said I'm anxious about that. Why would you ask me to tell you the worst case scenario? And she's like, in detail, walk me through, what does that look like? What does your day look like? What does your job look like? What does your routine look like in the worst case scenario? So essentially, like if I were to say, I want to quit my job, but I'm anxious about it. She would say, if you were to quit your job, what's the worst case scenario? And it was like, I can't find a new job. I don't know. I run out of money. My parents are disappointed in me. I have no future in career, crazy shit like that. But it was like, in reality, and for myself with my own anxiety, if I just made a plan, these things were not so bad. So especially before I came to California, I was pretty anxious about coming here. Because, I'm really far away from family and I had nothing out here. I didn't even have a job when I came out here. So it was like, Amber, what's the worst case scenario? And it was like, well, I get out of there and I had enough money to get myself out here, but it was like, I get out there and I can't find a job. So that's one thing. Two, I figure out what I want to do with my life and I'm bad at it, or I can't be successful at it. I don't know. I get out here and I'm lonely. I miss my family. I don't make any friends out here. Like these are things, these are fears, and of course valid fears. Okay. Yeah, it's valid to be scared of things. But I noticed, like, when I actually walked myself through the worst case scenario, the worst case scenario was never like me dying, you know? Like it was never anything I couldn't handle, you know? Like, okay, so you move out to California and you don't make any friends. Well, there's things we can do about that. You know what I mean? That's the worst thing. That's not the worst thing. You know, I can join clubs. You know, I love volleyball. I could play some, you know, join a little sand volleyball league or whatever. So yeah, there's steps you can take to mitigate these things. And on top of that, I was like, worst case scenario, I move out there. It's awful. I hate it. And I come back. And she was like, okay. Yeah. Why don't you go out there, try it, and if you hate it, come back. Come back. You can always move back. And that was like a light went off in my brain, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't know, my anxiety and my parents, okay, love you guys, but you definitely did this to me, put me in a mindset of where all these decisions that I make are concrete, permanent, final, no going back. And that's just simply not true. And that's a really poor way of thinking. And it's what really incited a lot of my anxiety. And when I put that aside and realized I make my own decisions today and tomorrow and in the next month and in 2 years. So if I come to California, I might love it and I might hate it. And let's say I might love it for 5 years. And then I might decide I'm going to come back. Or I might love it for 50 years and never come back. Or I might love it, or I might hate it always and stay here for a month and be like, fuck, I fucked up. This was bad. Go back home. But either way, all of those scenarios are so much better than if I never tried. And so, I don't know. I'd recommend whatever you're anxious about or whatever these things that you want to try, or walk yourself through the worst case scenario. And, you know, and you can always make a plan for the worst case scenario too. You know, I come out here and I hate it. Okay, well, the plan is to just go back home, you know? It's not ideal. I wouldn't like to do that. I wouldn't like to plan to move across the country and then move back. But it's not the end of the world either. It's not this detrimental thing that's like the worst decision I ever made in my life. Like, no. There's so many worse things out there. It's really not that big of a deal. People move all the time. Better to have tried. But another thing I want to talk about career-wise is I had an interview last week, and I was feeling a little bit of impostor syndrome. And I just want to talk about it because, like I said earlier, my career, I've noticed, is I'm a little more interested in wellness and the connection of physical health and mental health. And I had an interview for a job as a personal trainer. And this is the gym that I already work out at. And that's why I submitted an application, because I work out there. And just every day that I came in, the vibes were good. They were chill. All the workers were nice. This is the boutique gym. So there's only one location. It's not a chain, which is top tier. I'm done with chain gyms, let me tell you. But anyways, I just noticed that the vibes were good. The people were cool. I don't know. I liked it. So I submitted an application. I was able to get an interview and whatever. And he had asked me during the interview, he said, well, we were talking about programming, and I was like, yeah, that's something I'm anxious about. I just said I've never programmed anything for anyone, and that'd be my one thing. Because, you know, I have my certification, but I just have never practiced, so I'm nervous, you know? And he was like, okay, and he had asked me, like, how I program my own workouts, and I just got a wave of anxiety. I felt like, I don't know, because I don't really program my own workouts, to be honest with you. I used to, and then I did, and then I didn't, and it was like, I follow this other influencer who I really like, and she has an app. It's like $10 a month, and she has her own programs in there, and I use them, and I like them, and I like her, and I like her content. And so her name is Christina Capron, by the way, if you want to look her up. She's pretty cool. And she's also just very chill, and I also feel like she doesn't like contribute to the negative side of the fitness industry of, you know, diet pills and all that kind of shit. But anyways, so, I don't know, a long time ago, I changed the way that I work out because I've worked out for a very, very long time. I used to play volleyball, and I had my own personal trainer and whatever. And I used to kind of work out for other people. Like, once I didn't have a personal trainer anymore and I got to college and nobody was telling me what to do, I started programming my own workouts, and it was all, how to be skinny, how to get abs, how to get a fat ass, whatever. And as you can imagine, that wasn't very motivating. It just didn't get me out of bed. It didn't really get me to want to go to the gym. It just wasn't it just wasn't for me. And it wasn't fulfilling. Yeah, it just was not like, I was like, this isn't a long-term thing. And I've never had a lot of goals in the gym. Like I said, I used to play volleyball, so I just worked out, for volleyball. I just did volleyball player workouts, and then as I got out of sports and I kind of like didn't really know what to do anymore, that's when I made that shift. And then eventually in college is when I started going to therapy and all that stuff, and I kind of was struggling with anxiety. I was like, I think that I like working out, because I always knew I liked the gym. I liked working out. I liked physical activity, but I was like, I just don't have any goals. I don't, luckily, like I said, I worked on myself mentally. And so I wasn't at this stage where I was like, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to get abs. I want to lower my body fat percentage. And so I didn't have any physical goals. I really just knew that I liked working out, And so from there, I started to change my perspective of fitness and physical activity in the gym. And I really just started to go for how it made me feel. And that has kept me going for a very, very long time. Like over a year now, I've consistently been at the gym because of how it makes me feel. And I kind of do workouts based on that. Like I said, I use this influencer's app, and I like her programs on there. I enjoy them. And outside of that, I enjoy doing my own every once in a while cardio, because most of her stuff is like lifting. She does a little bit of cardio in there, but I don't know why I went like this. Just a little bit of cardio in there. But like on the side of that, I like taking cardio classes. I don't really care much for like spending time on the treadmill by myself, but I do like lifting by myself a lot. I like stretching a lot. I like changing my music based on what I'm doing versus lifting versus stretching versus cooling down, whatever. And I noticed that I liked more class-based cardio, such as a Zumba class or whatever the fuck. And so I feel like I've come a long way in my own fitness journey, because now I work out for me and only me. And will my body change going to the gym? Probably, maybe, I don't know. My body will probably change a little bit over time as I grow up, as I get older, and as I continue to work out, and maybe change my fitness routine. I don't know, I might. But I also just started doing workouts that I enjoy doing, I was like, I don't really want to spend time in the gym doing shit I don't like. If you don't like lifting, maybe that's not for you. Or maybe you do a little bit of less lifting and a little more cardio. Or maybe you don't spend any time in like these fucking construction workers, I swear to God. Right when I finish this episode, they're going to be going home for the day. Okay, anyways. So maybe you don't spend any time in a more organized, structured gym fashion at all. Maybe you pick up basketball all the time, and you go on runs around your neighborhood and whatever. You play some sand volleyball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, your fitness routine should just be you and your business and your life. And I do think personal training sounds like it's for me, but I was getting anxious during this interview because I felt like people wouldn't be looking for me as a personal trainer, because of course, if somebody wants to lose an X amount of pounds, I would love to help them with that. But even more so, I would love to help them create and sustain a long-term relationship with the gym, help them figure out what is their fitness routine for the rest of their life. And that's not to say you're like committed to one for the rest of your life, but I more so mean like, once you lose the 20 pounds, then what? Are you going to be happy? Stop seeing me as a trainer? Stop going to the gym? You know what I mean? Like, I think setting physical goals is wonderful. And if that works for you, and I mean, like my boyfriend, he loves physical goal. Like, that's his thing. He's like making a list so that he can check things off of it. He loves it. And if that's your motivation, go for it, of course. But I guess I'm just worried, what if you run out of goals? What if you lose the 20 pounds and it's never enough? What if you need to lose another 20? And then like, you're at a healthy weight, but you want to lose another 20 and another 20, and you want your body fat percentage to keep going down, down, down below a safe percentage or whatever. I guess that's part of my own like fear. And also, I don't find it motivating. I find working out and fitness more motivating for how it makes me feel. I feel really good after lifting a lot of weights, heavy weights. I feel strong. And then I like changing my music to something more relaxing, and stretching and breathing and focusing on my breath work. And I like the mental game of physically working out more than physical goals, I guess. And during this interview, I was feeling stressed because I just felt like nobody would feel that way. And I talked to my roommate about this when I got home, because I was just like, I don't know, I felt really, really shitty about it. Like, I worked out after the interview, and it was a horrible workout, because I just, like, I wanted to cry for a weird reason. I really wanted to cry. And when I got home, we, like, had talked about it, and she was like, so you're telling me that you feel this way about fitness, but you think in your mind that nobody else on the planet feels the same way as you? And I was like, I mean, that's not likely. And she was like, no, that's not likely. If you feel this way, odds are somebody else does too. Like, odds are maybe somebody who works 40 hours a week is looking for a personal trainer to help them program workouts. And maybe they're also not interested in as physical goals as much as they just want to have a positive relationship with fitness. You know, maybe they're just coming to get a personal trainer because they want to be able to, you know, play flag football with their kid in the backyard or whatever the fuck. So she was totally right. And I'm glad that I talked about it, because I was feeling stressed and anxious. And yeah, I think there's something to be said for, like, you're never really alone. And even if you're having, like, scary or intrusive thoughts, the odds of anybody else feeling that way are pretty good. There's, like, 8 billion people on this planet or whatever. The odds of you being the only person who's ever had that thought is pretty slim. Pretty slim. So I myself am still struggling with my career, still feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I haven't even heard back from the job yet anyway, so I don't even know if I got it. But I am feeling a little bit more confident and excited for it, because the thought of somebody coming to me for personal training for that reason really does excite me, and I think I would love to see more one-on-one progress and change in somebody else's life. I think that would be fulfilling for me. So I'm excited, anxious, nervous, whatever, all the above. But I also talked to her a little bit more about it, and I was like, well, what if I hate it? What if I'm bad at it? I've never programmed workouts in my life. And she was like, then you quit. Or if you're bad enough, you get fired. And she was like, worst case scenario, you just don't go back to that gym. And I was like, true. Worst case scenario, asking yourself that question always helps. That's the truth. I was like, if I get this job and I'm absolutely dog shit at it, worst case, I get fired or I quit, which is not the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like, it might feel like the end of the world when it happens, but a year or two later, I'm probably gonna look back and laugh my ass off. So whatever. Shit we're working on this week is making selfish decisions that are doing more of what you love and less of what you don't, and not feeling an ounce of guilt for it. Here's to making your days all about you. Because that's what we all need to do, I think, a little more of. But yeah, let me put some questions down below. Do you view quitting as a bad thing? Or did you have that preconceived idea? Because I know I did for a long time of you know, yeah, you can't quit. And just let me know what you guys think. And what is the worst case scenario if you do the things that you enjoy and quit the things that you don't? What's the worst that could come of that? That's all I got for you today. So that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. And I will catch you on the next one, because this shit is hard.